The rain fell hard that night, a constant beat on the roof, transforming the streets into shimmering rivers of light. The sound of rain wrapped around me like a secret, softening the world's harsh lines, drawing us closer in our hidden moments. That night, the rain whispered secrets, setting the stage for a moment I never saw coming. As I stood in the kitchen, lost in thought while drying the dishes, the doorbell's chime broke the silence, stirring something deep within me. The hour was late, too late for anyone to come knocking uninvited. With James gone for the weekend on a business retreat, the house felt achingly empty, leaving me alone with my thoughts. A wave of tension washed over me, but as I glanced through the peephole, a sigh of relief escaped my lips. It was Lucas, the one person James could never quite have. For nearly 2 decades, Lucas had woven himself into the fabric of our lives. They met in college, drawn together by an undeniable bond that felt both thrilling and dangerous. He was always there, lingering at our barbecues, family gatherings, and game nights, a presence both comforting and electrifying. In the quiet night, his sudden visit felt like a moment just for us. Yet, the sight of him beneath the porch light, raindrops clinging to his dark hair, stirred something deep within me, a longing I knew I shouldn't feel. I pushed the door ajar. "Lucas, why are you here?" His expression was a mask, yet his blue eyes shone with a quiet depth that quickened my pulse. "I didn't mean to just drop by," he murmured, his hands buried deep in the pockets of his damp jacket, a hint of longing in his eyes. As I drove home, he fell silent, tension etched across his face. I longed for a connection, a whisper of understanding in the shadows. His voice carried an unexpected heaviness, a rare glimpse of vulnerability that stirred something deep within. Lucas often lit up the room, his laughter weaving through the air, a magnetic presence that drew everyone in. Watching him stand there, filled with doubt and hesitation, stirred something deep within me. "Come in," I whispered, my heart racing as I stepped aside. He paused, heart racing, before crossing the threshold. As he let his jacket fall away, I caught a glimpse of the weight he bore, his shoulders drooping ever so slightly, hinting at a burden he couldn't share. "I'll grab you a towel," I said, my heart racing as I moved toward the hallway closet, the air thick with unspoken tension. Upon my return, he stood in the living room, gazing at the rain-kissed window, adrift in his own world. I passed him the towel, our fingers brushing briefly, and he whispered a soft thank you as he ran it through his wet hair. "Would you like to share a cup of coffee with me?" I asked, hoping to dissolve the heavy silence between us. He nodded, and I turned to the kitchen, thankful for the distraction it provided. As the coffee brewed, the air between us crackled with an unvoiced tension. My heart raced as I debated whether to push for the truth or let him break the silence. As I placed the mug before him, he let out a breath, heavy with unspoken feelings. "I've held this secret for too long," he confessed, his grip on the ceramic tightening, "and I can't bear it any longer." As I faced him, a flutter of tension gripped my insides. What could it be? He lingered, gazing into his coffee as if it contained the secrets of their unspoken connection. In a quiet, shaky whisper, he admitted, "You mean so much to me, Emma." The words hung in the air, heavy and electric, as the rain whispered outside. I gasped, my heart racing in my chest. Out of everything I had anticipated, his words caught me off guard. For a fleeting second, I wondered if my ears had betrayed me. The storm outside may have twisted his words, but the intensity of his gaze, so bare and vulnerable, spoke volumes that needed no translation. "Lucas," I began, but the words slipped away, lost in the weight of what I felt. "I know," he interrupted, his head shaking in disbelief. "I understand how this may come across. I understand the weight of this moment. I can no longer hide my truth." Heat flooded my cheeks, a blend of surprise and an unnamed longing that stirred deep within me. Lucas had always been the one James turned to, the one who understood him in ways no one else could. He was more than just a friend. A secret longing lingered between us. Yet I had never dared to imagine, never even permitted myself to dream of anything more than that. Your voice wavered, and I searched your eyes for the truth behind it. He chuckled softly, the sound tinged with sadness. "Regret lingers, but I can't hide behind excuses. I long for the day I can forget this, but deep down I know I can't. It's true, Emma." My heart raced as I clutched the table's edge, a mix of longing and fear coursing through me. "Lucas, you shouldn't speak like that." "I must," he whispered, drawing closer. "Because it's the truth, and I don't want anything from you. I promise I really don't. I had to tell you because ignoring it won't change the truth." I shook my head, heart racing, the sound of my pulse echoing in my ears. This felt overwhelming. Came out of nowhere. My marriage had its flaws, yet James and I had woven a life together, filled with unspoken connections. We shared a past, fleeting moments, a fragile bond. Lucas's words hit like a quiet shock, threatening to shift it all. I inhaled sharply. "I'm not sure what you want to hear from me." "Don't hope for more," he confessed. But I couldn't hold it back any longer. The air crackled with unspoken words, thick with longing. His eyes spoke of a deep yearning, a silent ache from clinging to a love that felt just out of reach. In that fleeting instant, a forbidden spark ignited within me. A whisper of a longing I dared not embrace until now. Yet to admit it would unravel everything we know. And I didn't know if I could handle it. The silence hung heavy, a barrier we both dared not cross. The only sound was the steady tick of the clock and the rain, pouring endlessly against the glass. The air vanished, leaving me breathless, my thoughts racing to grasp Lucas's shocking confession. "I shouldn't have said anything," he whispered, his hand brushing over his face in regret. "I fear I've changed everything." I shook my head, uncertainty swirling within me, unsure of what I was pushing away. His words lingered, their truth wrapping around my heart, igniting a longing I knew I shouldn't feel. My heart raced, threatening to shatter the confines of my chest. "No," I breathed, my heart racing. "You haven't shattered a thing." His eyes met mine, a spark of longing igniting between us. "Just say it. Everything." My heart raced, the intensity of the moment enveloping me. "Lucas, you're my husband's closest confidant. You've lingered in our hearts for what feels like an eternity. I never imagined you felt like this." He released a soft, bittersweet laugh, tinged with longing. "I kept it hidden from you all along. I hid it away. For what feels like an eternity. Do you have any idea how difficult this has been for me?" His voice trembled with unspoken feelings, fingers clutching the coffee mug as if it were his only anchor in a world that felt so wrong yet so right. I was lost for words. My heart urged me to deny his feelings, to claim they were misguided, but deep down I knew that would be untrue. His gaze lingered on me, a moment too long, as if he were trying to etch every detail into his memory. I had always kept my heart in check, never daring to question the unspoken bond between us. I let out a breath, heavy with unspoken feelings. Lucas, my heart belongs to James. Understand. His smile was fleeting, a shadow of warmth that never touched his gaze. I kept silent for fear of what it might mean. That's why I convinced myself I could endure it. But lately, Emma, I find myself lost. It's becoming increasingly difficult. I pressed my fingers to my temple, battling the chaos within me. Why at this moment? Why reveal this now? He paused, a heavy sigh escaping his lips. I caught a glimpse of you at the grocery store today. Your laughter at the cashier's words lit up your face, a fleeting moment of pure joy that felt almost wrong to witness. What if that could have been my life, a fleeting dream just out of reach? What if I had whispered my feelings to her before it was too late? A pang of longing gripped my heart. Lucas, I breathed softly. His smile was tinged with sorrow. It feels wrong to want this, and I understand if you can't share my feelings. I could no longer wear the mask. Had to tell you. My gaze lingered on him, a tempest of feelings battling within me. A part of me longed to end this, to whisper that we could never speak of it again. Yet, a hidden part of me, long suppressed and unrecognized, began to awaken with a quiet intensity. A memory emerged, unexpected and bittersweet. Long ago, before James and I exchanged vows, Lucas and I experienced a moment, brief, fleeting, yet undeniably real. It was one of those sultry summer nights from our youth, before the weight of the world pressed down on us. James slipped away from the party, leaving Lucas and me on the porch swing, lost in conversation for hours, the air heavy with unvoiced feelings. Everything was left unsaid. Words remained unspoken. Yet, his gaze from that night lingered in my mind. Did I truly listen to the whispers of my heart back then? Had I hidden something deep within, just like he had? I shook my head, desperate to rid myself of the heavy thoughts that clung to me. Lucas, my heart is racing with everything you've just shared. Understand. He rose suddenly, fingers tangling in his hair, a storm of emotions brewing beneath the surface. Have to leave. I let him go. He pulled on his jacket, heart pounding, and moved to the door, aware of the unknown ahead. But just as he reached for the handle, his heart whispered for him to turn back. Every word was true, Emma. Whatever the future holds, my heart will always remain close to yours, even if it means standing in the shadows as just a friend. I took a deep breath, my heart racing as I nodded. Sweet dreams, Lucas. He paused, heart racing, before pushing the door open and stepping into the downpour. I lingered by the door long after he had gone, my heart pounding in the silence that followed. And I realized, deep inside, that his words would haunt me forever. Sleep eluded me, a restless ache in my heart. Each time I shut my eyes, Lucas's voice lingered, a haunting whisper I couldn't escape. I could no longer wear the mask. Had to tell you. I convinced myself it meant nothing at all. James and I shared a life, one that felt unshakable, comforting, and known. Yet, deep down, I felt the undeniable truth. Nothing would ever be the same after tonight. By morning, the storm had faded, leaving the streets glistening and the air filled with the intoxicating scent of fresh rain. James sat at the kitchen table, the morning light casting shadows over his coffee and laptop, lost in thoughts that felt both familiar and forbidden. Morning, he murmured, his gaze fixed elsewhere. Morning came, my voice a whisper of fatigue, and I couldn't help but wonder if he sensed the weariness beneath my words. I focused on brewing coffee, deliberately steering clear of his eyes. My hands remained calm, yet my heart trembled with unspoken longing. Do I dare to reveal my heart? Would that bring us closer? As I poured my coffee, James's gaze finally met mine. His brow knitted with unspoken longing. Are you all right? I managed a fleeting smile. I barely slept at all. He nodded, his mind elsewhere, lost in the glow of his screen. It was all too familiar, yet for the first time an invisible barrier stood between us. A feeling that had never existed until now. And it broke my heart. I tried to bury Lucas's confession deep within me for the rest of the day. I went through the motions, ticking off tasks, reaching out to a friend just to feel a spark of connection. Yet, no matter how hard I tried, my mind was irresistibly drawn back to the moments we shared last night. The way Lucas gazed at me, the heaviness in his words, and how my heart betrayed me despite my better judgment. As the sun dipped low, I realized I could no longer escape the inevitable. I clutched my phone, heart racing, as I lingered in the silence before finally sending a message that felt both thrilling and wrong. Can we meet in secret? The 3 little dots flickered to life, a silent promise of something more. Then his response arrived, stirring something deep within me. My heart whispers your name, Lucas. Absolutely. When will our paths cross? And where will we dare to meet? My gaze lingered on the screen, a knot tightening in my stomach. Encountering him was like stepping into a secret world, yet I couldn't bear the thought of leaving things unfinished. The hidden sanctuary. As the clock struck 6, the world outside faded, leaving only the 2 of them in a moment that felt both fleeting and eternal. My heart whispers your name, Lucas. I'll find a way to be there, no matter the cost. The park was still when I stepped in, a hush hanging in the air, as if the world held its breath for what was to come. The rain had cooled the air, leaving a crispness that felt almost electric, the grass still damp beneath my shoes, a reminder of fleeting moments shared in secret. I caught a glimpse of Lucas by the bench, hands buried deep in his pockets, his face a mask of mystery. As I drew near, he gave a shy, hesitant smile that sent a thrill through me. Hi there. Hey there. I took a seat next to him, my heart racing as I maintained a delicate space between us. In that fleeting silence, words hung heavy between us. The silence lingered, thick with unspoken feelings. Then I inhaled sharply. My heart whispers your name, Lucas. Words escape me. He nodded, his eyes lingering on the shimmering pond before us, a silent acknowledgement of the unspoken tension between us. Understand. My gaze fell to my trembling hands. Last night you took me by surprise. I never saw it coming. I never wished for you to. He breathed out softly, a hint of longing in his voice. I never intended to speak up, Emma. But when I finally did, it was as if I could breathe again after a lifetime of restraint. I glanced at him, my heart racing as I searched his expression. Why at this moment? Why didn't it happen before James and I said, I do? Why not when it could have changed everything between us? His lips formed a tight line, holding back unspoken words. Because in that moment, I believed I was strong enough to bear it all. I believed we could stay just friends, but my heart had other plans. Yet as days passed, the struggle deepened. And somehow I find myself lost in uncertainty. Perhaps it's wrong, but I can no longer wear this mask. I shut my eyes, letting the world fade away. Do you realize how everything shifts now? He nodded, a silent agreement hanging in the air, charged with unspoken feelings. Understand. I choked back the emotion rising within me. Lucas, my heart belongs to my husband. He breathed out, a quiet sigh filled with longing. Understand. But I just can't. I can't bear the thought of causing him pain. His smile was tinged with sorrow. I could never ask that of you. I turned my gaze, feeling the weight in my chest. So what does that mean for us now? He lingered in silence, the weight of unspoken words hanging between us, before finally breaking the stillness. The choice is yours, Emma. I longed to tell him that everything remained the same, that we could return to the way it once was. Yet, in the depths of my heart, I understood the truth behind the facade. 'Cause everything felt different now. After tonight, everything would change. I could feel it deep within me. Lucas would never be just Lucas again. And that filled me with dread. The drive home was quiet, each mile amplifying the heaviness of my talk with Lucas, a burden I couldn't shake off. My heart raced with a storm of feelings, guilt, sadness, and an unspoken longing that I dared not acknowledge. For years, I believed I understood my place in life, in my marriage, and among my friends. But tonight had unraveled everything I believed to be true. As I drove into the driveway, the sky deepened into night, and the house shimmered with a warm, inviting glow from within. James had returned, and the air was thick with unspoken feelings. My heart raced as I paused at the threshold, torn between desire and doubt. The lingering scent of his cologne filled the air, while the distant hum of the television echoed softly from the living room. He lounged on the couch, a beer cradled in his hand, an air of ease surrounding him. "Hey," he whispered, his eyes meeting mine for a fleeting moment. "Why did you leave me?" The question seemed light, yet a shiver of tension coursed through me. Though my heart was bare, doubt lingered in the shadows. I strolled through the park, heart racing with unspoken desires. It was a whisper of reality, a secret wrapped in shadows. James nodded, a flicker of something unspoken passing between them. "Tiring, isn't it?" I let out a breath I didn't know I was holding. "Absolutely." He beckoned her to sit beside him on the couch. "Come just for a moment and be with me." I slid into the seat beside him, heart racing at the electric warmth he radiated. For a fleeting moment, we lingered in silence, the TV's hum weaving an unspoken tension around us. And that's when the realization struck me like a forbidden spark. What we had was undeniable. This was the world I had crafted, the love I had embraced. And even with all that had unfolded in the past day, even with the surprising confession that ignited something within me, this was the only place my heart longed to be. I glanced at James, tracing the contours of his face, noting the way his brow knitted in focus as he stared at the screen. After all those years by his side, tonight, I finally glimpsed the depth of him anew. He must have felt my gaze, for he turned, an eyebrow arched in question. "What is this?" A gentle smile graced my lips. Silence lingers between us, heavy with unspoken words and stolen glances. A connection that feels both electric and dangerous, yet we can't help but draw closer, even as the world around us fades away. "I can't help but love you." His expression changed, caught off guard by the unexpected softness in my tone. His gaze softened, and he took my hand gently. "My heart whispers your name, Emma." As I rested my head on his shoulder, I felt a rush of warmth envelop me, and I closed my eyes, savoring the moment. No matter what had transpired with Lucas, no matter the feelings that stirred within me, my heart was already claimed by another. And that was all they needed. A week later, Lucas vanished from my life, bound for a work project overseas. He whispered a brief message before he disappeared. "Lucas, please be safe. Care about you, Emma. I'll always be close, even if we can't be together." My heart raced as I lingered over the message, hesitant to respond. "Me. Is it you as well?" "Lucas, I wasn't sure if we could ever return to what we once had, but perhaps that was just part of our story. Life had a way of catching us off guard, challenging the very essence of our decisions. In the end, it was never about the silence between us or the paths we dared not tread. It was the love we dared to embrace each fleeting moment. It was over just like that.